There's there's a being inside each one of us. Every plurimatic being that resides in this place that no one else gets to see or know but you. And I think it's really important to remember that being, to remember that personality, to not let the structure of this place or the inconsistencies and the trials, tribulations, tests of this place beat that out of you. Um, I said that I was going to get into talking about the things that I've been studying this weekend, and I am going to, but I don't know that I've really touched on this specific topic too much lately. And it's still very much within the scope of my focus, but it's different now. Um, it's hard to say or to convey just how different it is without sounding severely pessimistic in the sense that people view pessimism. If you know me, you know that I'm a self proclaimed classical pessimist. Not a negative person. I don't like the concept of not being real, not being realistic. That doesn't mean that esoteric and metaphysical things don't exist. It just means that you should do the due diligence of finding truth. All that I'm doing is just me trying to find truth and remember me, because all that you have here is you. All that you have here truly is within you. Your central nervous system is essentially a VR set. All of this is for some purpose. I don't know what the purpose is, but that's for you to decide on your own. I think that many people within the circles that we're in choose to look at others' perspective on what this place is, why we're here, what it's for, if we're supposed to learn things, if we're supposed to repeat things if we don't learn them, and so on and so forth. But I think that's for you to decide on your own. I don't think that it's important necessarily for you to decide if someone else has the right views or the correct way of looking at it. Um, so also, if you know me, I don't just read to study. I like all forms of art. I feel like art specifically is how the most primal versions of the true essence of who we are as beings is released, many times from some place that we maybe don't understand. We refer to it as the subconscious. I don't know that I like that terminology. I think that's actually just a part of us, a part of the conscious. Regardless, though, there are two series that I watched that were really thought provoking. One more so than the other. Actually, that's not true. They just different lights. One of them is called Pantheon. I kind of talked some shit about it in a short or something like that recently, but it talks about specific technologies that are probably not just coming but already here. The concept of UI, uploaded intelligence, versus AI. I'm sure that you've seen some themes of that in certain places. It's also referred to as transhumanism. Not necessarily like a fan of that. I think that that's a way to give the truth of yourself away. Like if you were to allow someone to make a digital copy of your entire being without the sovereignty to control that after the fact, you're giving pieces of your being away that you're maybe not even aware of. I mean, mostly within that series, it talks about one of the potential directions that things could go in if people were to do that. Um, some may start to view themselves as gods because they have capabilities that were previously not available to us. Some would view themselves as lesser than because they don't have physical bodies anymore, unless you get into the concept of robotics. Some may want to become crusaders and want to save everybody. And I honestly don't think that any one of those choices by itself is the entirety of what we are truly. Again, if you're a plurimatic being, I don't think that everybody here is. That's just an opinion. I've talked about that before. But like many other things, I think there's a concept of trying to distract or dissuade us from understanding that we are. We just are. We're everything. We are everything. When you start taking pieces of yourself and putting more importance on one piece than another, or on one facet than another, you're betraying the other facets of the self. So, like, if you become just a crusader, then you're betraying the deity that you are. If you just want to focus on controlling and being the person that makes the decisions, being the light for everyone, your beliefs and your thoughts and your desires are best for everyone, then you're betraying the crusader within you. If you focus on any one thing, you're betraying the other pieces of you. Um, I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Even the things that we're told or that we make ourselves believe are negative are useful in certain scenarios. A lot of people are pacifists, but there are times when you need to use violence. A lot of people are ultra violent, but there are many more times that you need to use peace. There's a colloquialism that you get more with sugar than with vinegar. You know, doesn't mean that you don't have some vinegar. It just means that you shouldn't use either all the time. It's a balance. Balance is so important. It's such a universal theme within the studies, like, that I've traveled. Like, balance, I don't know, it feels like balance is potentially one of, if not the most important lesson that a lot of these teachings and texts and lectures and all of these things display to me, even if the lecturer or the writer or the researcher is displaying a lack of balance, that is painfully obvious right up front to me. I'm not going to start getting into videos about transhumanism too tough. I think I already have a couple actually. But I guess all I can say is use discernment because specifically a lot of what we see within media, like streaming services, TV shows, documentaries, a lot of that shit is meant to like mold your perception, mold your experience, not just your perception, mold your experience. Once you perceive a thing a specific way, you go out into the realm and you do things differently. That's one of the biggest tactics used to control. And it's one of the most successful ways to do it because a lot of the time beings don't even realize that they're being controlled. An example that I gave, I'm from the South in the US. So chattel slavery is a very large topic. I have some alternative views on what that was, how it happened. History is a very, very fickle and manipulated thing. But when we were in school, they made us watch this movie called Roots. Now, Roots is a fictional story that tells the story of a specific slave and his family throughout, I think, a couple generations. That story is manipulative in so many ways, it's kind of sickening. One of the main ways that I'm bringing it up for, though, is when we watched this movie, we had a melting pot of students, not just black, not just white, not just Mexican, not just Indian, not just Asian. Everybody left that room each day because it's a long presentation feeling weird towards each other. Everybody left that room feeling weird towards each other. We would go into the classroom, maybe having some differences of opinion and shit like that, but we would leave with resentments towards each other. What is that? It's programming. It's programming. That is the concept of what entertainment is. Give them bread and circuses. Give them bread and circuses. Keep them divided. Keep them from uniting. Keep them from understanding the truth of how this all works. So, when I tell you about like movies and the shit that I watch, it's not to say that I'm allowing that to curve me completely. I'm looking for clues basically. There's an interesting graphic that someone made that shows the pillars or the phases of the pyramid of whatever you want to call it. There's like Illuminati, CIA, and all kinds of shit in there, and you can have whatever opinions you have on what those things are. But I found it interesting that at the base, the foundation of this graphic, it had Netflix. I found that to be very funny because multiple times I've noticed within the past few years, certain movies have been released that very, very much affected the emotion and the focus of many. I won't say the majority, but of many. Don't Look Up. Um, they cloned Tyrone. Bird Box. There's been plenty of zombie movies. There's been movies about contagions and pandemics and slavery and anything that can skew you from paying attention to who you are, who you truly are, rather than looking at this realm and seeing it as all there ever is or all there ever will be, because it's not. The clues are in every, I mean, most religious systems that actually consider themselves to be that. Even spiritual systems talk about it. If this was the only place that there was or ever will be, then why do so many have dreams? What are dreams then? Are you here when you're in a dream? No. When people have out of body experiences, are you here? Or can you turn around and look at yourself and then you can leave? You may return, but you're not here. So if this is all there ever was or all there ever will be, then why are there other places that you can actively go now while you don't even understand how these systems work? You know? I think it's a dangerous game doing that that technology meets with biology stuff. You know, bionics are one thing, but messing around with your consciousness and even your satellite, your brain, your receiver, just seems like a bad idea. But that show is kind of weird. I viewed that as mocking, but giving some insight into what said plans could be, because they go into like, not to spoil it, but I mean, go watch it if you give a fuck. But they go into the many, many different paths that that could take us down, and it felt very much like it felt like dualism, like double speak. This is where things are going, but like this is what's going to happen because of it. But you still want it though. We definitely still want you to want it. I thought that was very interesting. There's another one called Chaos. Chaos is very interesting to me because it plays with the concept of the gods, more specifically the Greek pantheon of gods. And it talks about how manipulative and how closer they are to what we are than we think. It takes a long time to get to that specifically, unless you've studied a lot of text. But that's one of the themes that starts to build as you keep paying attention to the story. It even reveals at one point, spoiler alert or whatever the fuck, but the gods aren't even gods. They have to do something to maintain that level of immortality and to maintain the version of themselves that they portray to the masses. And it's not a secret theme that the said quote unquote gods need your worship. They need your attention to survive in the way that they survive. Doesn't mean that they would just evaporate into nothingness if their worship went away. But the way that they thrive, the way that they're able to get all the things that they want, the way that they're able to get entertainment from watching those of us that are trapped here, held here. I thought it was very interesting how they portrayed that, because I mean, that's what all of my interpretations and studies have kind of led to. People have the theory of the zoo, or another interesting theory is that we're essentially used as like sleeves. If you've ever watched Altered Carbon or read that stuff, that they potentially put pieces of their essence into you, which if you're familiar with the Gnostic texts, and there are other interpretations of this place that also talking about that talk about, even Christianity talks about breathing life, giving your essence, breathing life into clay. Same thing, just a different form of saying it. I find that to be very interesting, and the fact that these beings that people reference, there's too many references for something to not be there, but they hide. They don't show themselves directly. I think that's very interesting. I think that's very cowardly. I've said that before also. And I think that another theme from that show that they bring up is that the gods truly fear the Adamu, the man, the so-called creation. I don't believe that our being was created. I believe that they created prisons within prisons. Body is a prison. I posted that song a lot because it very specifically displays one of my strongly held theories. Um, and I mean, even to the level of mental or situational attacks, you know, that are kind of built into this experience. Even right now, the things that I'm saying could be used um, to make me to present me in a negative light just because I have theories, because I study a lot of religious and philosophical texts. Because I don't believe the same thing as another person, I could be persecuted. I could be made into a pariah when all I'm doing is talking. I'm not doing anything to anyone, not harming anyone. I don't take these views into the world and use them for extreme, you know, reasons or uses. But you can still be persecuted or have very real, tangible, negative things happen within your experience just because you chose to speak. I think that they're both the writers both have firm grasps on certain esoteric things that if you pay attention when going through the series, both of them, you'll notice. It's like I said, I say double speak, but it's more layers than that. There's definitely a lot of layers to it. I'm rewatching Lovecraft Country now. There's a lot of stuff in there, but it's very specific to a certain type of experience in the U.S. The indigenous person's experience in the U.S. And it kind of shines the light on how, like I said earlier, history is very heavily manipulated and can be used to kind of sway how people attack this place, how people move through the day to day, and how they view themselves, how they view others. None of the discoveries or theories that I've made make me go out and treat people badly. It's just not something that is within me. Um, I don't think that it's necessary for anyone to do that. I also don't think it means that you shouldn't defend yourself, defend your family, defend your wholeness, your being, your perception of what this place is. You shouldn't let anyone push you off your circle, off your square. Um, I don't know. I just thought that they made me think a lot of very, very insightful things, and I wanted to share that. So I'm not really going to go into doing videos specifically on either one of them now that I've finished them both. There's some stuff in there, but they're not like prophetic or profound in that way. But there is some profound stuff within them. So I figured I would at least mention it and some of the things that came to mind as I was consuming them. I don't have much else. Don't necessarily feel too great. So I'm going to go. I love you.